My name is Courtney. I got saved in 2018, and then I got baptized September 1st of 2019. And this is my story. God has saved me from an addiction, and He has also saved me from an abusive life. So, I was born in California on El Toro Marines Base, where my father was stationed at. He was in Marines for 17 years. And we moved to Panama City, Florida, and they were not having a very good time. So my mother got separated, moved to Georgia with her parents, and she started on the drugs and left my dad for child support, and we was with our dad. My father got remarried to a stepmother who was so mean. He started drinking heavy and just beating heavy while my mother was in Georgia on her drugs and just not caring about her children. In the meantime, for 13 years, me and my brother was being beaten, starved, and abused. I do remember at the age of 7, my dad did flush my head down the toilet. He tried to kill me. So, around 2 years later, my dad started getting more heavy drinking, and he started lifting the back of, started picking us up by the back of our necks and just tossing us up against the walls, and he locked us up in a shed. And I remember it's hot in Panama City, Florida, and they left my stepmother, she was in on the game too, so she was worse though. They locked us up in the hot shed, and they went off for the weekend. Me and my brother had to figure out how to eat and drink for that weekend, so they boarded the windows so we couldn't get out. And me and my brother had ate dog food and chicken food. We had chickens and goats because my dad's grandfather had a farm, so we ate dog food and chicken food, and we drank water from the washing machine so that we could survive somehow. My dad was so angry. I don't know why he was so angry. Didn't understand it, but they let us out, and by the time when they let us out, he was so angry. He was drunk. He just beat us with water hose. He just took his anger out on us a lot. We would go to elementary and middle school with, whelps on our backs and bruises and stuff, and me and my brother would lie to the principal and say, we were wrestling out in the yard, and the principal had an idea, but they couldn't say nothing because my dad would go after them. My dad was just so mean. Around 10 or 11 in that situation, I think my Aunt Donna came, which is my mother's sister. She came down, and she was so fed up with the situation, She was tired. She could see our rib cages and, and all the stuff, being beaten, abused, and starved. She was just so sick of it. So she came down and asked me and my brother if we wanted to go live with my mother, and we said that would be great because my mother was doing the drugs and all, and finally she found someone else that didn't do those types of things. She was fine at that time, so my Aunt Donna made sure that she was not doing those types of things until when we got there. So my Aunt Donna made us pack our stuff, and she got us out of that situation. So we moved up to my grandparents with my mother. We went to school up there, And that's when we started getting in trouble because we were so disciplined for no reason, we didn't know how to act, being spoiled. We was getting a lot of good things, like getting stuff we didn't know how to, receive. We didn't get Christmases, we didn't get birthdays, we didn't get holidays, we didn't get nothing, none of that. So now that my mother is able to buy us things like that, we don't know how to receive it and act like that, so she started spoiling us with bikes and stuff. We didn't know how to react to that. Around 16, me and my brother went separate ways, and I started getting into more trouble because, I wasn't into the military more than anything. So I joined the military. I went to the National Guard. I went to North Little Rock, Arkansas to get my GED. I got kicked out of high school. Wasn't paying any attention. So I went to the National Guard. After I joined the National Guard, got my GED, I had came back to Georgia for my RSP training, and I had went to my great aunt's house, which is my grandmother's twin. That was a mistake because she had set me up for some Xanaxes and had sent me to prison. She had wanted my money that I had just received from the GED for passing the test. She set me up for 15 Xanaxes and said I tried to sell them when I was walking her dog down the street. Later on, during more years, she did say that she did apologize to me at one time and said she was sorry for setting me up. But she did want my money, which she could have asked. I had got dishonorably discharged from the military because it was a felony. After I had gotten the GED, I did join the Marines. They said I could still join, but I have to switch over to another service. So I joined the Marines. Got 6 years into that, I met my contract. I was a 44 Echo, which is a machinist. It's welding. After I had met my contract, then I had gotten into some more trouble. So I moved down south with my brother. I had found him. After I moved down south with my brother, I started, drinking because that's what my brother was doing. I thought drinking was going to be okay because it released a lot of stress. So it chilled me, so I started drinking more. After that, I think my brother started using marijuana, and he asked me if I wanted to try some, and I said, no, I'm okay with that. So he kept asking, so okay, maybe I tried it a little bit, but it still stinked. I didn't like it, gave me headaches. So that wasn't my type of drug. Alcohol was my use of drug. I kept drinking, it got me in more trouble. So I went to jail down there in Coffee County Jail. When I got out, I tried to bring my mother down there. She came down there. She got her own place. She met somebody down there. I stayed with her for a little while till I got me a job, found my own place. Never happened because we started drinking. I found out she was using meth at that time. So I tried to get away, didn't work. She introduced meth to me, and I tried it. I thought I liked it, but I got in more trouble. So I went back to jail, got put on probation, and that was it. Found out my grandmother was sick. Cirrhosis of the liver. She was an alcoholic bad. She was actually on drugs too, with my grandfather, but they had quit completely because my grandmother was sick bad. So I said, okay, well, why can't I stay with you guys, get a job, and maybe take care of her? So my grandfather said, okay, I'll give you a chance. So I got a landscaping job. When I was with my grandparents, I guess things wasn't working well with my mother, so My mother called her parents, which is my grandmother, to move up here in Douglasville to, I guess, stay because she wasn't doing very well. So they gave her a chance, so we all lived in the same house. When me and my mother got back together, as a relationship, I guess we started drinking again together. I got into some more alcohol, and my mother and I, my mother kept buying it for me. I did get moved out, and I had stayed with some friends, and they sent me to Job Corps. This is where I become certified at welding. When I moved back up here in Douglasville from Job Corps, I moved back to my grandparents, and I had got into some more trouble because I kept drinking more. In 2016 and 17, my grandmother got real sick. At one point there was a nurse to come seeing her, but it was too much payments or something. So my grandfather just said, you guys can just stay here and take care of her and clean the house. In January 19th, 2017, she passed. My mother started, back on the meth again, and we all lived with my grandfather. It was just, it was hard times a little bit. So we helped somebody in the backyard. He stayed in the tent in the woods, so he's a big time spotter. But the police was watching him because he break into homes, burglarize people, and he kept bringing the stuff in the house that we was all staying in. So we got caught with the stuff, and me and Robin went to jail. After being in the jail for 4 to 6 months, got a Bible in the jail and started reading it and, asking about forgiveness. I was getting closer to God, trying to, and I was asking him, questions, and he was answering. I was asking him to please help me. He did. So I had contacted the Heather House, which is Miss Karen. And when I called Miss Karen, she invited me in, and I appreciate her a lot. Went to the Heather House and was there for a whole year. I was mandated to be in a rehab for a whole year. I love the house. It's a very safe house. I have learned a lot from Miss Karen. Karen, she's a very sweet person. She's like a mother to me. So I was her first graduate. So I had graduated the Heather House a year later. I had found a nice job at Seasons 4, which is welding. 2 days after I started this job, my mother passed. That Sunday, my mother had came to the Heather House and saw me to visit me before she went to the hospital. She died of bowel perforation, septic shock, and some other stuff. When my mother died, it made me realize who I really am. When she hugged me that Sunday, she said, "You got this." That stuck in my head. So now this is me. I'm on my own, still sober and clean, which is 2 years and 6 months. July 28th is my sobriety date, and still going strong. I have a great church family. I love Calvin Mill Church. I've been writing my dad, and I've been asking him why did he do the things that he did. And he never responded, he would never respond, but during a year and a half of those 2 years prison time, I asked him, he didn't have to tell me, just know that I know that you're forgiven, and that I have found God in the prison time because I read my Bible. It's okay, you don't have to tell me anything, just write me back. Don't send me nothing. Just write me back. And a month later he wrote me back and he apologized. And at the end of the letter he said, "Never leave me as a daughter." And he said thank you. And he said he loved me, so. October of 2018, my dad lost his trailer through a Hurricane Michael. He completely lost everything. So when I got my own trailer, my own place, like around December of 2019, I had a Mustang and a truck. Well, a guy from Facebook had saw a little bit of my story, and he had asked where I lived. So I gave him my address, and he came and saw the Mustang and the truck in my driveway. And he was asking about it, and I told him that it was just sitting there. The Mustang's been sitting there for a while, and the truck we've been driving back and forth to work. He said that he was interested in those. He said, "Well, I got a camper." So I've been praying and praying and praying, for a camper or something to come through for my dad. We made the trade. We got the camper for a Mustang and the truck. That same night, we delivered the truck and the Mustang to his house, and the next day we picked up the camper. And in about 2 weeks, we delivered it to my dad. And my dad, he never smiles. He will never admit to a smile, but we got a smile. Me and my dad are like what a father and a dad, a father and a daughter is really supposed to be now. He sees me forgiving him, and we've drawn closer to each other now, and I forgive the past. The past is the past. And forgiving him was hard. It was very, very difficult for me to find that word, but I found it when I found God.